Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hard Nine Pod. Today, as we stand, is King's Day, also the kickoff for Mardi Gras season. So there's that, January 6th. It is also 38 days till opening day. No, that is wrong. Math terrible. 82 days, I believe, till opening day.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
And welcome to the Cardinals, Andrew Kittredge. Again, math not necessarily the strong point here.
No. Also January 6th, not the greatest day in American history, but we'll move on from that.
That's why we were trying to focus on it starting Mardi Gras, not like what else
not
happened in our
not the
history. Like,
rest. Yeah,
no,
Andrew Kittredge is a Cardinal, and the Cardinals made a move. So that's why we're back. We've been wanting to do another podcast, but good Lord, there's been nothing to talk about in all of baseball, let alone Cardinals land. Um, I mean, Andrew Kittredge, I like a lot. Like, we'll say first, let's start by saying goodbye to Richie Palacios. A bright
moment of
light
silence.
in what was and what no moment of silence needed. It's not a bright light in what was a very dim and dark last few months with the Cardinals. Richie Palacios was really good for us, and shout out to the Cardinals here. I think for getting Richie Palacios for nothing. It was like cash considerations last year and giving him a run and trading him at what is probably is going to be his peak value with the Cardinals. Now, he may end up going off and being a great player for the Rays, and we look back and we say, wow, they did it to us again. That could happen. It's possible. But in terms of the Cardinals aspect of this, if Richie Palacios was going to be as impactful as Kittredge can be, I think that means something went really wrong with your outfield in 2024. So I
Agreed.
like the move.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. Here's what I'll say also. I am a little bit, I do find it a little bit hilarious that the uproar. It is like Cards fans obviously impassioned, like as we are, no doubt about it. But it does fun. Cards, make a move, trade from your outfield depth, trade from your outfield depth. Oh, whatever you do, don't trade your sixth outfielder for a former All-Star, because
Yeah.
he's 34 and coming off surgery. Even though we know that when healthy,
33,
sorry,
don't
my
age him.
apologies, Andrew, my apologies, buddy. We know that when healthy, he has some of the nastiest stuff in Major League Baseball. Now, is it a risk? Every trade you make for a pitcher is a risk. That there we just know
Well,
that.
hold on.
There's
Every trade you make, period, is a risk.
agreed. I agree 100%. And like I said, they've already come out and said Dylan Carlson, our number 4 outfielder. We still have Alec Burleson. We have Victor Scott, number 2, knocking down the door down there in
Mhm.
Memphis. I mean, of all the guys that you're going to trade, to call trading Richie Palacios for Andrew Kittredge an overpay is sort of a wild take to me.
Yeah, it is, and it could end up being like he could end up being like he is injury prone.
Of
Let's just get into
course.
Kittredge real quick. Yeah, I don't agree it's an overpay. I think it's a pretty high upside move, really. Like you just added a guy who, if he's healthy, he's going to compete with Gallegos for the eighth inning, right? Like that's who he can be. So let's go through his. I'll go through like his last few years. Injury prone. So when you look at injury prone is not fair. That's not what I meant to say. When you look at 22 and 23, you look at he pitched in 31 games combined. Obviously, that's not ideal. But it's Tommy John surgery, right? He got Tommy John surgery halfway through 2022, which had him out until almost the end of 2023. So for me, Tommy John surgery, I don't consider missing a majority of 2 years for Tommy John surgery a red flag, because it's just the timetable you deal with when you have Tommy John surgery. It's not like he's one of those guys that's had shoulder problems or, was just being on the shelf for a month or two at a time. No, he just had one injury that takes a year and a half sometimes to come back from. But other than that, like 2021, 57 games pitched, was one of the best relievers in baseball. He was an all-star. And there's this thing I looked at, and I think when you're looking at projecting for relievers, you kind of have to be a little nerdy with it because like ERA stuff like that, it doesn't really matter for relievers. Like an ERA, someone can have a 7 ERA as a reliever because they give up 5 runs in one inning or a third of an inning and it buoyed their and it destroyed their ERA. But this is one of the things that I like. This is from Cardinals Reek on Twitter, who I'm sure we all know and love. He's the not the calmest of fans, but I do enjoy him sometimes. He said in the last 3 seasons, Kittredge owns the best chase percentage, which obviously is just getting people to swing and miss on pitches out of the zone. And he has the second highest location plus. Location plus is just how good are you at locating above average. He's been the best in base, second best in baseball. So you're getting someone with peripherals that line up with what the Cardinals need, which is one, a guy that doesn't walk people and a guy that can get swings and misses. He doesn't have crazy high strikeout rates, but he is a really effective reliever, and it's a raised salary dump of $1 million. It's not like they just thought he wasn't good anymore. So I like the move.
Two things. One, I feel like it is a prereq that if you're ever going to pitch for Tampa, you have to have Tommy John surgery. So that's one. So
Yep,
he's
at
in
least
there.
once.
He's already had it. It's out of the way. He
Yep.
fulfilled his requirements down there in Tampa. Two, to me, you trade for a guy who is going to give you um potentially massive innings for a guy who's going to struggle to make the big league team. That's the way you have to look
Right.
at it. A guy who could effectively be your seventh or eighth inning guy, your bridge to Helsley, your bridge to JoJo, whatever, however you want to break that down, however they decide to go with that. Also, potentially a guy that you could use at the back end of games if Helsley is down. It gives you a lot of options in that bullpen for a guy who is probably going to start the season in Memphis, sans an injury to one of the other five
Yeah.
guys who are ahead of him. Look, I'm not trying to dog on Rich. I hope he goes to Tampa and has an incredible career. I really do. But we can't look back if he does and say this was another terrible move by Lo
Mhm.
Zaylock. Like we can't, like, come on. We can't do
No,
that.
but
This helped the big league team
yeah.
immediately with a move.
I think if you don't like, you don't have to love this trade. Like you might not like Andrew Kittredge. You might not like these 33. By the way, one of the youngest pitchers they've acquired this offseason.
Right?
But like you might not like those things, and that's fine. And you might really like Richie Palacios, but the move makes sense right now. Like, what would have had to go right for Richie Palacios to play a big role? Like, you would really look at the outfield. Nootbaar, Walker, Edmund right now seem to be penciled in. If Edmund's wrist is healthy, which I think it will be, we'll see. Then if one of those guys goes down or isn't playing well, okay, Carlson and Burleson. Those are probably the next two. So there's five. Okay, if one of those guys isn't playing well, okay, Donovan can play left field. Okay, so there's six. And then if all of that blows apart, we have Victor Scott. So for me, is he eighth on the pecking order? Like maybe he's better than some of those guys. But if we're looking at who the Cardinals are going to prioritize, they're not prioritizing Richie Palacios over any of those guys I just named. So it was the right move, one for the Cardinals, and two for Richie Palacios to go and actually be able to contribute at the major league level, the way he deserves to after how he played last year.
The other thing, I'm not going to by any means consider myself a expert on this situation, but from all accounts, from people who I respect that I've read, Palacios not really a major league center fielder. Like doesn't really profile as a major league center fielder, more of a corner guy, probably left field. However, that's like here in St. Louis, you've got Edmund, you've got Carlson, you've got Victor Scott on the way. It just seems like this was a no brainer for Cardinals, and I have to give the front office kudos on this one, even if in the end Richie Palacios goes to Tampa and has a really good career. Fine, great. You just added a piece to help your bullpen that you desperately needed, and you didn't have to go spend 10 million a year or give a guy 5 years to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you look at what they've done in the bullpen so far. I really like what they've done. Like they've added a bunch of really interesting arms with Riley O'Brien, who's throwing 100 right now. He was never done that before, but he's throwing 100 in the offseason. Ryan Fernandez is obviously the Rule 5 guy he'll be on the roster. We'll see what he brings. Oh my gosh, the other guy's name is escaping me. You can tell how much I like this guy.
Nick
What's his name?
Robertson.
Nick Robertson. There we go. That's the guy that everyone seems to really like. Um, and then you add Andrew Kittredge to that mix. And I think, everyone wants that big signing, right? We want that, oh my gosh, the Cardinals brought back Jordan Hicks, or they signed, Hector Neris or Josh Hader, whoever. I think the way they're going about it is incredibly smart. Like, yeah, could they spend more money? Yeah, they should spend more money. Obviously, we'll always say that. Spend more money to make your team better. The upcoming RSN deals, that who the hell knows what's going to happen with those. It's smart to not use all of your financial resources on the most volatile position in Major League Baseball. That's the way I
Agreed.
look at it.
Agreed. We did make it about 5 minutes before we even bothered to say Happy New Year to y'all. So Happy New Year to y'all. I hope you guys had an incredible holidays. Hopefully everything went exactly as planned and maybe even a little bit better. That would be awesome. We had a really good one down here. Taught Caleb how
Mm-hmm.
to play poker. That was good. He won his first game and now he thinks he's fucking uh
I didn't just
I
win.
don't
I
know, Matt
destroyed. I
Damon and Rounders,
dominated.
fucking three stacks of high society over there. But that was good. It was fun. We're gonna play for money here soon. We did a little practice round. Caleb won. Shout out. You won a preseason game. Good job.
It sucks that the one time I'm gonna win, it wasn't for money, because I know when we play for money, I'm losing all of my money.
Anyway, we hope you guys all had an awesome. We're glad to be back. We're now Caleb's heading back to the old well, it's not 618. What are you, a 217 there in Champagne? Is that
Sounds
the
right.
area
I don't
code of
know.
Champagne? I think it is.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's back up north where it looks like you could get 8 inches to a foot next weekend of snow. So have fun with that. We'll be at Mardi Gras parades. It'll be about 65 down here.
Yeah, that's great. I'm excited.
While you guys are joining us, if you could hit that subscribe button, we would greatly appreciate it. Please do not forget the comments have been awesome lately. We greatly appreciate those. Please keep them coming. We love them. And then we've noticed a lot of interactions between y'all. That's great. Keep that coming. Hit us up on Twitter. Give us a follow on there. We would love that. We're really our goal for 2024 is to put out way more content. Be way better with everything else in our schedule, and potentially maybe do some live things down the road, which is what we're kind of looking at. So we're excited for 2024 Cardinal baseball and the podcast and y'all. So there's that.
Yeah, I am excited, and I'm looking for like 2024 for the Cardinals. I said this on Twitter the other day. This is the most confusing Cardinals team to project moving forward, I think, that I've ever seen. I have no idea what to think of this team because I look at it and I'm like, okay, it's good that they got 3 starters. Like that's good. They checked that box. And Sonny Gray is good. What the hell is this team gonna be? Like their
Well,
rotation still. I'm gonna go on record here and saying I think their rotation's still pretty bad.
it is. Here's the thing.
Like it's
Because it
not
is
good.
because it is January 6th, King's Day, by the way. That's what we're going to remember January 6th for. I went ahead in our first podcast of the year, our first day of 2024. I went ahead and summoned the man right behind me to give us some good mojo for 2024. And if anyone can do it, we know that this is the guy. I look, we got 30 teams in Major League Baseball. They're all optimistic right now. Some maybe a little bit
Cardinals
more
fans are
than
not
others. Some
optimistic.
a little bit more than others. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about ownership. I'm talking about players. I'm talking about coaches. I'm talking about all of
Yeah,
that.
right. Okay.
I think here's what I think, and we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but the Cubs have spent $0. The Brewers have spent $0. The Pirates have added Rowdy Tellez. The Reds, good move. Frankie Montas potentially good move to add with
And
Lodolo, Green, Ashcroft. Huh?
Nick Martinez and Jeimer Candelario as well.
Agreed. I was gonna get there, but thank you for that.
You're
Um,
welcome. But you need
anyway,
help getting
so the
there.
Reds have, I think the Reds potentially have put themselves in a pretty good spot going in this year. Now they also lost Joey Votto, probably the heart and soul of Cincinnati over the last 20 years, like 15 years, 18, whatever it's been. Heart and soul of that team. That's gonna be interesting to see them replace him on and off the field. I think that's gonna be a really interesting thing. But the Cardinals have spent the 7th most money in Major League Baseball. Now you can also look at all the others above them and say, well, we could have done more. I'm not arguing that. However, they went out and they addressed needs. Now, the one thing that I do think is troublesome to others is you and I sat here in November talking about Yamamoto, talking about Montgomery, talking about Nola, talking about Hader, talking about and Sonny Gray. That I'm excited for Sonny Gray to be a Cardinal. What we didn't see was Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, fill in the blanks. Now, what do you think? Do you think there's still some option with Jordan Hicks? Do you think there's still an option in that bullpen, maybe a Phil Maton? I don't know if it's going to be a Hector Neris, or do you think they're going to move on with not only the guys that you mentioned there? Shout out to our guy Blake Newberry, by the way. I'm kind of stealing his list for the bullpen here, but we also didn't talk about Jojo Romero. Palante's added the death ball, right? I mean, I think
Yeah, right.
Roberse, I
We'll
think that's
see.
an interesting name. Kloffenstein's an interesting name. Like Zach Thompson, you have a lot of arms that we don't know. Like bullpen arms, you never know. And the one guy we also haven't talked about is Matthew Liberatore. We haven't talked
Yeah.
about him either. So I think there is some interest there in that bullpen. I think what they've done is they've added innings, which should, in theory, allow the bullpen to be stronger. Now, we also know there's a lot of ifs there.
Yeah, it's for me the bullpen right now. If they go in this year with all these bullpen options they have, knowing that when healthy, obviously injuries can always play a part, but let's assume health for now. With a back end of the bullpen of Romero, Gallegos, Helsley, and Kittredge. If that's your 4 back of the bullpen guys start the year, I like that, and I like the interesting options they have for the other 3 guys that they're or 4 guys that they're going to have in that bullpen. So I don't really even care if they add another reliever, if I'm being honest. If they add like a Phil Maton or something, great. Like that's just another guy to throw into the mix that's going to be an established major leaguer. But for me, the only way that they can really make this offseason significantly better for me is getting a legit top of the rotation pitcher. Like, and I don't know if they are going to. I don't know what the cost is for Dylan Cease. I feel like it's probably pretty exorbitant considering it's January 6th and he has not been moved. So that's the only thing they can do to really like move the needle for me one way or the other. Because I just look at it and I look at the rotation. And I think they've added more certainty as opposed to last year going in hoping Wainwright wasn't going to age. He did. Hoping Flaherty was going to be consistent. He wasn't. Hoping, Michaelis was going to repeat 2022. He did not. So they've got more certainty now, but I think their upside's worse. Like legitimately, I think a rotation with Flaherty, Monty, Michaelis, and all they had more upside than this. I think Sonny Gray's better than any pitcher they had last year. But I do think Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson have very limited ceilings and maybe even have relatively low floors. But like I look at the rotation, there's a chance. Like, what if Sonny Gray, knock on wood, if somebody has a Sonny Gray for a month, right, and he has a small injury, hopefully he's out for a month. What do you do? Like, what do you do? Your rotation's awful. So I am concerned about the rotation. I know it's supposed to be a happy 2024 New Year's
You're
episode.
not you're
I
not following this
I
guy.
don't I don't think what they've done so far is good enough. That's where I'm landing. I don't
I
think it's good
agree. I,
enough,
I don't think
and I
anybody
think
can
they need
argue with
to
that,
get better.
especially when you see what the Phillies have done, when you see what the Braves have done, when you see what the Dodgers have done. I think what the Cardinals have done is once again, which seems to be their MO. Ha, that was on purpose, sort of. But I think what they have done is put them in position to win again the weakest division in the National League, if not all of baseball, but not put themselves in position and then just hope and then hope. That's what I think it is.
Yeah,
And because last year again we saw the Diamondbacks go to the World Series. That was probably maybe the worst thing that could have happened if you're a Cardinal fan. Is the Diamondbacks just got
yeah,
in and they went to the World Series and Mo's like, "See guys, I told you all we got to do is just get in."
yeah. And then my retort would be, "Hey, they had three pitchers that were good."
That's valid. That's
Like
absolutely valid.
I think if Mo and anyone is like, if you're looking at what it takes to get to the World Series, it's not about having an ace. It's not about having two aces. No, it's about having three guys that can perform like that. And if you look at the Cardinals right now, I think Sonny Gray definitely can. So mark him down. I think Miles Michaels can. I think he can have a really good postseason. That wouldn't shock me. Who's the third guy? And more importantly, who's the guy that's going to be ahead of Michaelis? Given Michaelis, maybe what if he's a 4.5 ERA guy again? So now what do you got? You have Sonny Gray and no one else. Sonny Gray, by the way, really good pitcher. He doesn't have you know, dominant postseason history. So if I don't think they want to win the World Series, if I'm being honest, I don't think that's their goal. I think that's a nice happy accident if it happens. But the way that they act in the offseason, the way that they've acted even in the middle of the season when they with trade acquisitions, it would be hard for anyone to believe anything other than they want to make the postseason, have good profit margins, and if they make a run to the World Series, great. But it does not seem like their priorities are anywhere close to winning the World Series. Because if it was, you'd be seeing that with their spending, and they're not spending very much.
Yeah, it's it's hard to continue to keep going to bat for them. And we do that as fan. Like I do that because of the optimism and obviously what we talk about on here because when things are great, it's so much fun. But I think
Mhm.
their hope is, and I think a fan's hope has to be one of those other three, Matt, Gibson, Lynn, one of them is quality this year. Gets you to the trade deadline where you're either in first or you're in the hunt for the Central, and there's a big splash. However, history tells us that's not something that we've done either. And yet
Mhm.
you're going to have all these guys at Memphis that are going to probably put together. Memphis once again probably going to be pretty damn good. I'm intrigued to see what they do with Zach Thompson because your
Yeah.
discussion on or your thought on if Gibson gets hurt or if Michaels gets hurt or if when Matz gets hurt or whatever, fill in the blank. Who do you go to next? Like if you have
Thompson.
Zach Thompson up here in the bullpen, it's not going to be Zach Thompson. Like we've
Yeah, he
seen
can't
that
be in the
that
bullpen.
fail with Jordan Hicks, and then everybody yell at Jordan Hicks. It can't. I mean, so is it going to be Libertor? Is that your next guy? Is it going to be TK Roby? I don't know that they
Yeah.
think
I
he's
mean,
ready. I think that's going to be
yeah.
interesting to see because by adding these bullpen pieces, maybe it gives you the flexibility to start with Libertor and Zach Thompson down at Memphis and have guys ready to go, bullets in the chamber when one of your AARP starting rotation guys go down. No shot at
Yeah,
those
I
guys.
think
I'm about to turn 50 1 month from today, so no shot at those guys.
I think Zach Thompson needs to be in AAA to start the year if he's not in the rotation. And if we're being honest, most years, knock on wood, hope this doesn't happen this year. Most years, at least one starter is hurt by the end of spring training. The
Yeah,
way it goes. Like it's happened every year for the last I don't know how many years. Last year it was Wayno. The year before it was um Jack maybe, and the year before that it was Michaelis was out for like almost the entire year. Like that's going to happen. It just happens. So It's gonna be Zach Thompson will be the first man up, I would assume. And then TK Roby, a guy like him, he's exciting. He's the guy that could end up really becoming one of your best pitchers next year if he's able to stay on track and stay healthy. Because he's got that potential and he's very close because he's gonna be in AAA start the year. When you're in AAA, you're a call away. So that's interesting. But for me, like, gosh, could you imagine how much better this team looks? Like, I think if you added Dylan Cease, let's say you don't trade anything significant from the major league roster and you just plug Dylan Cease in there for prospects, they're a World Series contender. They're one move away, I think, from legitimately being a World Series contender. It's a
That's an
Dylan Cease
yeah.
away. It's a Luzardo away. It's one of those guys away without trading, from your major league roster, which will be difficult to do. But if they could pull that off, they're now you can't say they're not trying to win a World Series because that's a move for the World Series, not for the hope you win 85 games and that's enough. So, and I just want them to make that one move, but I don't know if it's out there. And I don't know if Dylan Cease, maybe it's as simple as the White Sox won't budge if you don't give Gorman. Maybe it could be that simple. If that's the case, you're not making that move. But man, I dream of the day where I wake up and on my phone it says Dylan Cease to the Cardinals for
From
four
a jet bomb.
prospects. Right,
Yeah, that would
like
be
something like
great.
that. So they are one move away. And to be fair, they're rumored in on Dylan Cease, which means they're at least poking around. We'll see what that ends up leading to. Um, so maybe they are trying, but they've got to be able to do something like that to, I think, prove to the fan base that it's not just about getting to 85 wins, getting hopefully one or two home playoff games, getting that money, and that's all you care about.
Are you shocked that Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell are still on the market as we get? I mean, we're a month, what, about a month from pitchers and catchers reporting. I don't have that
A
exact
little
date in
over a
front of me.
month,
I should, but it's some six
about
weeks,
5 weeks,
five
about
to
five
six
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah. No, I'm not really surprised. I was surprised. I would be surprised if you told me that in November, but seeing the trajectory of this offseason, it doesn't shock me. I think Yamamoto's deal being $325 million is really what's holding it up. Because if you're Monty and you're Snell, you're saying, like, this guy hasn't pitched. I'm Blake Snell. I've won 2 Cy Youngs. So you're paying me 200 something $million, or I'm not coming to you. If you're Jordan Montgomery, you're saying, I just won a World Series, and I was one of the big reasons because of it. So Yamamoto's never done any of that. You're paying me $200 million, or I'm not coming to you. Don't talk to me. So it doesn't surprise me. Both Scott Boras agents, which makes it even less surprising. So no, it doesn't surprise me, but I'm trying to figure out the fits for those two pitchers. Like, is Blake Snell going to go to the Giants? That seems like the only team that makes a ton of sense for him. And
Makes sense
Montgomery,
to
like,
me.
the Red Sox don't want to spend money apparently for some reason. I don't think he makes sense for the Cubs. They already have Justin Steele. They're the same person. Um, so I don't know where they're going to go. I think they're finding that their market's not as lucrative as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by that Boston club. Like I'm not really positive. Like I think the deal that they made with Atlanta, by the way, potentially very good deal. They got money back. They got Chris Sale off the books, and they added Vaughn Grissom. The jury's still out. We saw Vaughn Grissom great in 21. That
22.
were 22. 22. Vaughn Grissom great in 22. Obviously injury ridden last year and struggled last year.
Not
So I
injury
don't
ridden.
I thought he was
He was
hurt at
one of
the
the
beginning
best
of the year.
AAA player. He was one of the best players in AAA.
Yeah, but I thought at the beginning of the year last year he had an injury out of spring
No,
training. Okay, maybe
they
I'm wrong.
just chose Arcia over him.
Okay. I'm just really intrigued to see how that plays after you getting Verdugo out. I hate to, I don't want to say this because I like
They
watching
don't
Alex
say
Verdugo
it.
play, but it seems like it's addition by
Yeah.
subtraction. So I mean, I
Him and
don't,
Alex Cora are not the best of friends from what I've gathered.
I mean, there's a reason they pawned him. Or I shouldn't, that's bad wording. They handed him to their rival, the Yankees. I think there's a reason for that. Okay.
There is.
That's all I'll say. But I'm intrigued to see what those markets are. I don't always keep receipts. Sometimes I do. You're really good at the pat on the back, and you deserve it most of the time. However, I would like to go back to when I reminded everyone and you that the Mariners were not trading Gilbert. They weren't trading Wu. They weren't trading Miller, but they were going to try to trade and really trade Robbie Ray. And I was told, but nobody wanted that contract. But Robbie Ray is now a San Francisco Giant.
Yeah, he is.
And Mitch Haniger is back in Seattle. Let's go.
I think the reason that trade was able to happen is because Robbie Ray, has an opt out after this year.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to use it. By the way, there's no fucking way he uses that opt out.
No,
He's only
unless he
going to
goes
pitch
out and
half
puts
the
up
year. He's only
another
pitching
year
half
like
the
he did in
year.
Toronto. Like that's the only way. I agree.
He can't even do that. He's only pitching half the year this year. He's out for the
Yep.
first month, 3 months. So yeah, that's an interesting trade. And honestly, I don't think anyone won. Like I looked at it, no one won that trade. I don't know what the Mariners are doing.
Mitch
They're just like
Haniger's got some
collecting.
Mitch Haniger's got some
fine
Pacific
bats.
Northwest juju, though, man. There's something about that Seattle air and that fish market and that Space Needle. There's something about those whales out there that gets Mitch Haniger raking in Seattle.
Yeah, he's either gonna hit 40 homers or he's gonna play 20 games.
Bingo, bingo,
And he's gonna
bingo.
get paid a lot of money to do whichever one he's doing. And Robbie Ray, that guy, poor Robbie Ray, right? His Seattle contract, probably super excited to go up there and play. The
No.
last pitch he threw for the Seattle Mariners was a walk-off home run to Yordan Alvarez in a
Yep.
playoff game.
Yep.
That's tough. That's a tough way to go out. But yeah,
Out of
not a
the,
great
by the
contract
way,
there for the
out of the
Mariners.
bullpen where he's never ever really pitched out of. Tough
And Yordan Alvarez
situation.
just hit that thing back over the bullpen, send it back right where it came
um,
from.
I'm rooting for him. Hey, that was the most Giants move that there is, but so is signing Blake Snell. I could see them definitely sign. That's been that was where I said he was going. Was the Giants?
That's
I'm
the
going to
only place
stick to
that's
it.
gonna overpay Blake Snell, right?
Well, of
Like,
course, and that's going to be the Giants. Like that's what
is
they're
he the
going to
least?
do.
And this isn't meant as a shot at Blake Snell. He's a really good pitcher, and he's gonna help whoever he goes to, I believe. But is he the least sought after two-time Cy Young Award winner to ever hit the market?
Potentially. I mean, I don't have that list right in front of me, but
It
I
has
mean,
to be.
it has to be.
Maybe
Yeah.
Tim Lincecum when he was at the end of his career, not pitching well anymore. Maybe
Yeah,
that's the
but he
last
was
one.
also what 35 at that time or 34. So that's a
Well, he
big
was just
difference.
injury ridden, but yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying like that might be the only
Yeah.
one that could even compare. It's weird.
Maybe a
I don't know. Like,
41-year-old Greg Maddux.
do you
Like
think what? Yeah, maybe. Do you think either one of those two teams? I mean, those two players are going to go to a team and you look at that and says, "Wow, that move made them like legitimate, contenders that scare you." I don't think that's going to happen.
do I believe that if Blake Snell signs with San Francisco, they're a legitimate contender? My answer is no, because I do believe that's where he's going to sign.
Right?
I think Jordan Montgomery, I have no clue where. I mean, I'm hearing the Angels for
Yankees?
Jordan Montgomery.
No way, right?
I,
I've heard he still wants to go back to Texas, but I don't know if Texas wants to pay him. And then you look at like Boston. If Boston gets Monty, he's a good arm, but that's not going to help
what
them much
about
in
the
the East.
Cubs?
That doesn't do much for me because he's going to be similar to Marcus Stroman. Like he's going to be a little bit better than Marcus Stroman was, but
Stroh hasn't
like
signed either, right?
no, yeah, he's still out there. Like
Yeah.
they've got all the bats are out there. No one's other than Jung Hoo Lee and like Lourdes Gurriel Jr. They're all out there. So
Yeah.
I don't. This offseason's been weird, but I also feel like a lot of that's because the players, the crop of players is not very great. Like there's not a lot of franchise altering players out there that haven't signed in it yet. Other than like Otani and Yamamoto when they signed, were obviously could be that. But everyone else, it's kind of like, okay, it's a good supplementary move, but that's it.
Yeah, Cody Bellinger's still out there as well, and the rumors of him to Toronto still pretty loud. I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
He's gonna be a Cub.
Um,
He has to be, right? If you're the Cubs and you let
I
him go, there's no pathway. Like this is in division, so we can talk about this, I guess. There's no pathway for the Cubs having an offseason that's even solid without getting Cody Bellinger. There's
I
not.
agree. I agree.
Like, because if no matter what else you do, you're probably getting worse.
Yeah. Two guys that were talked about mentioned with the Cardinals. I know fans were excited about. I think just because they get excited about the international players are quite often Matsui and Go. Correct. One goes to San Francisco. One goes to San Diego. The price is not terrible for either of them. Are you
Cheap.
okay with the Cardinals not signing them? Would you have liked to see one over the other? Would you like to see both or neither? Where do you stand on those two guys ending up in on the left coast, where obviously it does feel like every international player is now going to go to one of the coasts every time, which we have talked about on here at
I
ad
do not.
nauseum and does seem to make sense logically.
Yeah, I think a lot of that played a factor in this for sure, especially when you got guys like Yu Darvish over there that can recruit, and specifically Matsui, who's from Japan. I like Matsui a lot, but also I didn't think a left-handed reliever made much sense unless it's a dominant one, like obviously Josh Hader, who we talked about. That's not happening. But
No, not now.
if it wasn't him, it doesn't make any sense to bring a lefty in here. And Woo-Suk Go, like to be quite honest, I don't know much about the guy.
Me
Like
neither.
he's 25 years old. Hopefully he's good. I know he's his brother-in-law is Jung Hoo Lee. That's about all I know about the guy. So we'll see what he becomes. But I wasn't overly angry about either. Actually, I wasn't angry at all about either of them because I don't think either of them moved the needle that much for me. Like Matsui could have been really good and he would have been exciting to get him, but I also don't feel like they need him. Like I feel like JoJo Romero and one of Zach Thompson or Matthew Liberatore can probably be just as good for league minimum. So it didn't really concern me at all.
Do you think Matsui becomes the closer there in San Diego?
Rumors are Woo-Suk Go is going to be the closer. I don't know. I think Robert Suarez should be their closer, but I don't know if they're giving guarantees to free
Matsui,
agents
San
when they
Diego,
sign.
correct?
They're both in San Diego.
Okay. Well, I thought one went to. Okay, that's on me. I thought the Giants signed one of those guys. That was completely
They signed Jung
misrepresented
Hoo
there.
Lee. No,
Okay, that's what.
they're both on the Padres, but
Yep.
I don't know what they're going to do over there. I mean, Robert Suarez is their best reliever still, so I would
Yeah.
put him in the closing role, but I don't know what they're going to do.
Matsuya was a reliever or a closer, right, in Japan. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he had one. I think
Yeah,
he had the
I
all-time record for saves
could be.
over there. He was
Could
up
be.
there. He was up there for sure.
I think it's just going to be interesting to see. Like you look around the league. I mean, obviously Kiermaier goes back to Toronto. I think that's a solid move for Toronto and Kevin Kiermaier. I think that's a good move both
Yeah.
teams right there, or both parties right there.
Do you think
Bellinger.
it's a
What
fair
other?
statement before you do that? Do you think it's a fair statement to say like we're underwhelmed? I think is the offseason. I like Sonny Gray a lot. I like the bullpen moves they've made a lot. The rest of the rotation I don't really love, and I think it's very volatile. But do you think it's fair to say that other than maybe the Braves who got Chris Sale, which was a nice move for them, and then obviously the Dodgers who got everybody else that was good, it's fair to say every other fan base in baseball is probably going to be disappointed with this offseason?
I think that what the Diamondbacks did by adding,
Yeah, them too. They're good.
they added Rodriguez and the third baseman.
Gurriel
Yeah,
and Suarez.
and Suarez. Yeah, I think that's a really for a team that's
Yeah.
young that really already had everybody kind of in place. They didn't really lose anyone, and to bring those in, I think what they've done
Mhm.
sneaky good. Like
Yeah,
not,
they've done well.
I think they've
But what
done
I
very
was
well.
saying was I think we're looking from the Cardinals perspective of wow, we really needed, something bigger and better. Like not then Sonny Gray, but to go along with Sonny Gray. But I think a lot of it's just this market's bad. And
Yeah, I agree.
like I think you look at the Red Sox, their fans were told they were going to go full throttle, which whatever. They're not even over the luxury tax. I don't know how you can go full throttle in Boston without going over the luxury tax. The Yankees, they got Juan Soto, and then there was supposed to be Yamamoto and Soto. They didn't get that done. Who else is even out there that we need a big offseason? The Cubs haven't gotten anyone. We just talked about that.
Yeah, the
Those are all the teams
Brewers.
rumored to have massive offseasons. The Phillies brought back Nola, but that's just the same team again. 3 years in a row, they're running it back. So I think we're looking at it from a Cardinals perspective, but I really don't think there's much out there to do other than what the Dodgers did, which is get everybody.
Speaking of the Brewers, I'm going to continue to toot this horn until it's done by someone other than the Cardinals, even though I continue to believe that the Cardinals should make this move yesterday. They can make it today or they can make it tomorrow. I do not care. Go sign Brandon Woodruff. You've talked about it on here. Defer the money. You can give him something really cheap this year. Defer it to next year. That's another guy that will be in your 25 rotation, but also a guy that you will get back most likely in August after the trade in that area. That's another
Hopefully.
that just seems to make you have the money to do it. That seems to make a lot
Do
of
they?
sense. They have the
Okay, they
money.
have the money. Do they have the money available to them? That's the question.
The answer is yes. He has the money available to him. Does he want to spend it? That's the question.
That's what I know. I meant does Mosaic have that money available to him to do that? Probably not.
Well, then that's a problem. If we can't go get Brandon Woodruff for $5 to $10
Yes,
million
it is
dollars,
it's a problem that we signed Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. That's a problem. Like one of them would have been great. They signed both.
my
That's the
point is
problem.
back to what I was saying. You could go get. I would like to see. I'm
Yeah.
gonna continue to toot that horn until someone else does it. I'm also shocked that Corbin Burns is still a Milwaukee Brewer. I'll say that as well.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Like the trade market hasn't gotten moving besides Tyler Glass now at all. I guess we just made a trade, obviously, but like the big pieces we were coming into the offseason saying, wow, they could be four legitimate top of the rotation pitchers traded. One's been traded. Well, depends on how you view Chris Sale, but I don't view him as a one or two anymore. So you get like, why are they keeping Corbin Burns?
Yeah, I maybe the
Why?
market
Why?
is
What are they doing?
maybe there is no market. Like I
You can't tell. You can't tell me that the Dodgers and the Yankees want to be all over Corbin Burns right now. You cannot tell me that.
well, what are the Dodgers going to give up for Corbin Burns? Like I know that they
They
have
have
guys, but
85 prospects that are better than what the Brewers have.
yeah, but Burns, what is he's a free agent at the end of this year? Is that correct?
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
that's a lot to do with it, man. I think the
Look
Brewers
what Juan
missed their
Soto just
window by
got
not
traded
trading
for,
him
though.
last year, and I understand why they didn't trade him. I'm simply saying at the trade deadline they could have got a
I
haul
don't
for
think
Corbin
that's it,
Burns.
Dad. I think it's they see this division's weak and they see they can go make more money if they're winning. That's what I think it is.
Could be.
Like look at what Juan Soto got traded for. Like he got traded for like six pitchers or whatever it was, and the catcher. It was crazy what he got traded for. Corbin Burns is going to be traded at the deadline, I think. And it's going to be for an incredible amount, an incredible haul because that's a guy that legitimately alters like your chances to win a World Series, and
Yes.
as big like that's as big of a move as the deadline as you can really make, like for your rental. So I don't know what's going on with Milwaukee. I think they're going to win 83 games, and if everyone else is worse than them, they'll win the division. That's what I think they're doing right now.
You everyone's going to want a Corbin Burns, but are they going to want a Corbin Burns as much as they're going to want a Lance Lynn or a Kyle Gibson at the trade deadline?
You think we're going to be sellers at the deadline now?
Uh, I'm with you in that I legitimately this is like me going into a movie where I have no idea. Like your mom makes me watch movies a lot quite often where I have no idea what the plot is. So I am going to be
Saltburn.
surprised for 2 hours. Saltburn, that was 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. However, I had no idea. Had I known, might not have watched it, but either way, watched it, not getting that time back ever. That 2 hours gone. But it's
Well
like that's how
acted.
I feel about the 2024 Cardinals. I'm going into this epic. I'm not going to do like an injustice to Scorsese and call it that's Scorsese like epic because he would have created something probably much better. However, I have no clue what to expect going into this season. I'm optimistic right now because we're 0-0. Like we're 0-0. We have no wins, we have no
How
losses, we got
optimistic?
nothing.
That's a question I want to ask you. How optimistic can you be about this team currently constructed? Offense, I think is great. Bullpen, I actually really like. But when you have a rotation that looks like this one does, right? It looks like Sonny Gray, who call him a one or a two, I don't care. He's one of the better pitchers in baseball.
He's
So
our
Sonny
one.
Gray, right? But he was a one last year. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. So whatever, he's at the top of your rotation. But then it's four back end pitchers, if we're being honest about
Correct.
this. With some like Michaelis and Matz, I think have upside to be better than that. Kyle Gibson's upside is kind of being a really serviceable 3 or 4, right? So let's just say 4 4s as of right now. Lanceland's probably a 5. Um, how good can they be before the deadline? Realistically,
500.
with those 5. They can
500.
do better than that. That's not
I
fair. That's not.
I
I'm
don't
saying
think
if you're
so.
as optimistic as you can be, it's
I
better than
am.
500.
I think that they can be 500, which keeps them in the hunt for the NL Central. I really like. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they come out, but I also believe those first 17 games of the year, and I know are 35 games of the year that we even looked past. We looked into the first month
Yeah.
and a half. If they come out 500, I know you're saying that's wrong, but if they come out at 500, that first 35 games of the schedule, my optimism shoots up. There is no doubt about it because that they could come out of that 15 and 20, 10 and 25 legitimately if those guys are all number 4, number 5
Oh yeah.
pitchers. There is no doubt about it that they could come out of that first 35 games 10 and 25. And then you're looking at
Mhm.
oh shit, here we go again. If they come out of that with 17 or 18 wins, my optimism goes up. If they're above that, I'm freaking giddy at this point in time.
Yeah, except for we'll have to. You say that now, but until we have to watch what that looks like, we won't be very excited. Here, here's the thing. Like, so we know what they're going for, right? They're going for people that can give you innings and give you a chance to win basically every time you pitch. They're going to have blow up starts. Those guys are they're older pitchers that don't throw hard. That if they don't have their location, they're going to get crushed, right? But majority of the time, they're going to at least keep you in games and give you a chance to win. Other than maybe Matt, who isn't that type of pitcher. He's more of a, hopefully he's great. Sometimes he's just not doing what he needs to do. Do you buy into this? Like, I think the thing is we have a good enough offense to where if these guys are giving us 6 innings, 4 earned runs on average, um, we're gonna win a lot of those games. And if that's the case, then I don't know. Do you believe that? I don't know if I believe that because I think they're gonna give you outings like that, but I also think they're gonna give you outings that's 3 innings, 10 runs. Like I don't know
Yeah,
what to think.
if they give you 6 innings with 4 earned runs, right? That's 5 guys with a 6 ERA.
I get it. But still, like I think you look last year, if the Cardinals got 6 innings, 4 earned runs or less from their starters, they were winning most of those games because their offense is so good.
Except our bullpen imploded. But that all falls cyclical back to
Right.
them not going 6 innings. I will say I'm a big fan. I'm nervous about Gio this year a little bit. I think I'm
Yeah.
nervous about that. Cautiously optimistic isn't even where I'm at. Cautious, just because
Yeah.
the regression seems to be setting in on him. I hope not. I hope he comes back in his
That could
fucking
also just
nails.
be fatigue. We don't know.
Do you? Let me ask you this question. I don't think they'll do it, but do you think there's a world where the Cardinals are a better team with Steven Matz in the bullpen and Zach Thompson in the rotation?
No,
Okay,
I don't.
okay,
Because I
that's good.
think
That's
Zach
fine.
Thompson's a less refined Steven Maz right now.
I just love the idea of when Matz goes out and throws 1 inning and he's throwing 98. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, but then I like that when Zach Thompson does that too.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I was
I
just
think
asking.
the best thing you could do here is Matt's is starting Thompson's in AAA waiting to be called up and Liberators in your bullpen. That's for me at
Okay,
least.
okay.
They
I
need
just
they need
wondered.
I think they needed Takoa Roby to step up and be a star. And
Yeah,
that's not fair to him at all. It probably won't happen because it's unlikely. But that's what this team needs is someone to become this not Spencer Strider, but that version of a guy that we don't see coming. We don't
right.
think is gonna be this. And then he's like, oh crap, there's our two.
Yeah.
That's what they
Jeffrey
need,
Springs 2 years ago for Tampa,
right?
guys like
Like
that. Yeah.
Tampa every year, Zach Eflin for some reason.
Yeah.
But like that's what the Cardinals need, and I don't see it on the horizon. Like Roby could be that, but he's been hurt a lot. He's probably gonna be on an innings limit, even if he is great next year for us. He's probably not even gonna be able to pitch in the postseason just because of the innings limit he's gonna be on, I assume. So, God, they're in a bad spot. Like they're gonna have to trade somebody at some point if they're in contention. And the guys that are going to be available, like let's say Cease isn't traded this offseason for whatever reason. The White Sox don't get enough. And then you're like, okay, well, we'll try it at the deadline. You have to trade the same people. Like it's not going to
Yeah.
go down.
Right.
So they're in
Well,
a
it would
bad.
go
They're in
down
a
because you'd have
weird.
less control. Like
I
it
don't think
would
it
go
would
down.
because then demand would be up.
Yeah. Not if Corbin Burns is out there.
Well, when he's gone, then who's gonna? Then it's just Dylan
Yeah.
Cease.
Yeah. I
So who
I think
knows?
they backed themselves into this corner by not drafting and developing top-notch young pitching. That's where they are. And
And
now
when they did, they got hurt.
or they traded him.
Right.
You have to reap the benefit. I guess you have to reap what you sow. Like that's where they're at right now. And this, I mean, you and I've talked about this off air, but I've talked about it a little bit on here. And I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but it could be a rough run for the Cardinals over the next 3 to 5 years. It really
No,
could be.
I don't agree with that because I think
Okay,
they've got guys coming up, and I think that you look at the young offensive core, and I think it's in a good spot. The offense is really good. I think the offense is going to be one of the best in baseball. I really do. That's only if pitchers keep them in games.
right.
Like, oh, seriously, because we've seen how many years have we seen when the pitching's bad, the offense follows suit, right? Because
Yeah.
starting pitchers set the tone of every game. They had the ball in their hand to throw in the first pitch, and if that first pitch is getting hit into Big Mac land, followed by the next three pitches also getting hit out there, the offense isn't as motivated. So it's tough because I want to like what they've done so bad. And I really like what they've done in the bullpen. I think what they've done is very smart. And I think there's a good chance the bullpen's really solid. I like that they haven't traded any of their really good young bats. I like those things. But when you look at the rotation, it's hard to be excited about Gray, Michaelis, and then you can't even pick the third. Who's the third best? Well, I don't know.
Well,
Like that's tough.
you and I sat here again at the end of the season talking about how we would be excited if Miles Michaelis is your number 4 or at best your number 3. He's penciled in as your number 2 with nobody
Yeah.
even close to him. Like he's almost 1B at this point, and that is not what you can go
At this
into.
point, it's either like if one of those other three is better than Michaelis, it's either a really good or a really bad thing.
I guess the good thing for us and for all of our fans, and also the terrible thing is, by the end of April, we're gonna know. Like we're gonna know.
Maybe, or they're gonna be 500. We're not gonna know anything.
That's which is very Cardinal like.
Right? No, well, actually, it's not. The beginning of their years are awful almost every year.
That's why I'm saying honestly, I disagree with that then. I think if they're 500 by the end of April, we know they're better than what I thought they were going to be.
I think they're still gonna. I think they're a playoff team. I really do. I think they're going. I think because I think they're gonna. I think that Central's gonna be bad. Like, can
Oh,
this
it's
team win
bad.
87 games and win the Central? Yeah, I think it can. But it's a little frustrating to me personally that coming into last year we were saying that's not good enough. You need to take the next step with Arenado and Goldschmidt, right? And now since they were so putrid last year, we're reverting back to saying just get in the postseason. No, dude. Just because you were awful last year doesn't mean we have to lower our expectations. You should be trying to win a World Series here. Or why are Goldie and Arenado still here?
Let
Like
me ask you
legitimately, why
this.
are they still here?
Speaking of that, do you think there is a world where when he wakes up in the morning he thinks, "What the fuck did I do for Nolan Arenado?" Like what do you think? I don't know him
No,
personally.
I don't think so.
Like I don't know him.
I
But
don't think he has any ground to stand on with that.
no. I'm talking about when he decided to stay. Like he could have
Stay,
opted
right?
out
Yeah.
and gone somewhere. That's what I'm talking about. I'm
Yeah, I
intrigued
get
to
it.
know what that conversation was. I'm intrigued to
Yeah.
know why he made that decision. I'm just well, I don't think I'll ever know, but I'm
Yeah,
intrigued to know what he thinks.
I don't know, but at the same time, like if he I like Nolan. Nolan's probably my favorite player in baseball, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Um, if he thinks he has any ground to say anything about being upset about this organization when he has been here for 3 years and 2 of his 3 years have been mediocre, he's mistaken.
I
That's
agree
all I've
with
got to
that.
say.
I agree with
Like
that.
Arenado's a great player, and we sit here and he's one of our best players, and we love him. But go look at his stats for 2 of his 3 years here. He hasn't been a superstar. He's been a superstar once. So if he's not a superstar, then he can't act like a superstar and being upset that we're not doing. Like if we're being honest, if he would have started out just fine last year in April and May, we probably wouldn't have been 10-24, and we might have made the postseason. But he was horrible. He was like one of the worst players in baseball for the first 2 months.
Please understand that I agree with everything you are saying. I have said it on multiple accounts to other people that I agree. He literally, like everybody's like, oh, what do you think he has to say? He has nothing to say at this point because he made the decision to stay. My question is, internally, do you think he's like, oh shit, I could have opted out and
Maybe.
gone to back to LA. I could have gone to fill in the blank and like looking around the league, and then he's watching other teams like get better, and he's watching the Cardinals sign Lance Lynn and Kyle
Yeah. I
Gibson. Or do you think the athlete? See, I always wonder the psyche of a professional athlete because it also could be just like you said. I'm going to show up, and if I'm way better, we're way better,
That's
and
what he
then
should be
everything
thinking.
falls into line. Like I just always wonder how I'm really enthralled or interested in that the psyche of a professional
Yeah.
athlete and what really they do think.
Yeah. My answer to that would be I hope that's not what he's thinking. Not just because
Agreed.
I'm a Cardinal fan, but because if he's thinking that, instead of thinking, how do I get better to help us beat those teams? How do I get better and be more consistent to where, we become as good as one of those teams? And also, like, he chose to stay. So this idea that people have, not you, but other people on Twitter, that, oh, the Cardinals lied to him and all. Mosaic doesn't lie to people. That's why he doesn't get
No,
people to sign here, because he doesn't lie to them. If he lied to them, we probably would have had 6 starters last year, but he didn't. So I don't know what he thinks, and I like Nolan a lot, and I think he's gonna have a massive year. I really do. Um, but I don't know. He just doesn't have any leg to stand on if he's thinking that. I don't think.
I agree. Like I said, I agree with that. I just always am intrigued to what does he think? What does Goldie
Yeah,
think?
I have
I'm
no
intrigued
idea.
by
He
that.
probably is a little bit regretting that he didn't make more money.
I'm
I would
intrigued. What
guess.
does Wilson Contreras think? Like after the way he was treated last year, and then Flaherty's comments come out that a lot of things were probably misconstrued that weren't really said or how he meant it. Obviously we're looking now. That's what 8 months removed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
right.
he should have said
Whatever.
it better.
Agreed. I agree.
I like Jack, but
All that
that
stuff I
seemed like
always
that
think
smelled
about.
like BS
What?
to me.
How hot do you think Ali Marmal's seat is in 2024?
I think if they're bad, he gets fired.
Okay. Do you
So I
think he
guess as
makes
hot
it
as it
through
can
the year
be,
if if they get off to another terrible start?
he shouldn't, right? Like
So Mozeliak fires his third manager.
Mosaic might as well be the owner of the team, Dad. We know this. Like, other than the money he's being spent, he's not going anywhere. So that, yeah, I mean, I don't think Ollie's seat necessarily should be as hot as it is. But at this point, you can't have 2 horrible years in a row and stay. Like you're trying to win, and to what level, who knows? But they're definitely not a 10-24 start again. Like if that happens, yeah, he's got to go. And that's unfortunate for him because the front office isn't putting him in the best situation to be successful, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, you cannot sit here and go through another 91 loss season and do nothing.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. Well, except
unfortunately, that's how it is.
who out there who can they sign next year that's 35 years old just to change it?
Well, they have club options for Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. So
Yes.
I do think a lot of this has been negative, but I also think like
No,
there's a
I think
world where
it's
they're pretty good. Like there is a world where they're pretty good, but it has to be none of these people falling off a cliff and hoping that Lance Lynn didn't already fall off a cliff. There's a real world. I like Lance Lynn. There's a real world. We just saw him fall off the cliff for his career, and we signed him to a deal right after that happened. There's a world where
agreed.
Kyle Gibson, it's just as good as he was last year, and that's almost a 5 ERA. And then Steven Matz is inconsistent again and injured, and then Michaelis is once again just a middling pitcher that's in the 4 ERAs, and then it's Sonny Gray, and
Do you
that's what you got.
do you think no WBC will help Miles Michaelis this offseason?
My real answer to that is I don't know, but also I like if that affected him that bad, man.
I mean, he
Like
wasn't
Pablo
pitching.
Lopez, then don't go.
He was told he was going to start, dude. Like that's on
I
record.
don't
He was
know,
told he was
man.
going to
Like
start.
maybe it'll be a better start to the season, but and by July he should have been out of that whatever funk he was in.
And do we think that could really help Nolan and Goldie? Like, I'm intrigued to see that. Like, I
I
am
don't
intrigued to
know.
see that. I don't know either. Like, I don't think,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer, but I am sort of intrigued just to see how that plays out.
Yeah,
Before we get
I'm
out of
interested.
here,
There's something there, but I don't know what that something is.
give me one bold take for 2024
For the
heading into the
Cardinals.
season. Yep. No, Caleb, give me a Baltimore Orioles hot take.
Well, you should have been specific then. I think
Are
Jordan
you
Walker. Let me answer the question. I think Jordan Walker leads the team in home runs and WRC plus. That's my bold
okay?
prediction. I think he's the
Okay.
best. I think after the year, he's clearly the best player on the team.
Okay. You don't mind?
What's yours? Yeah,
Steven Matz
what's
wins
yours?
15 games.
He doesn't pitch 5 innings.
Wait,
How's
Just
he
wait.
gonna win?
Just wait.
How's he gonna
Just
win games when
wait.
he doesn't get through the
Just wait.
fifth?
Here's why I said it. I'm literally like I taught you. We
Why
just learned.
is that
You just
your
learned
why is
poker. I'm literally went all in on the chips last year on a 2-9. I'm offset 2-9. Went all in right
that'd be
there.
great?
However, last year I thought that he was going to be great. I really did. We
15.
saw.
Why is that your
Well,
okay? I ask you
12
a
could be
question
great.
though.
Let's go 12. Can we re-reel it
No,
in?
hold on. Can I ask
Let's
you
go
a
12.
question?
Yeah.
Why are you using pitcher wins? Use
Huh?
ERA or something.
Well, I'm not good at that.
Steven Matz is like the last player you should predict wins for.
I know. I know. But I think
Okay.
12 wins. Let's go 12.
That's not
15 was
that
a little bit too
good.
bold.
That's not that bold.
For a 5 starter, that's pretty good.
He won't be your 5 starter if he's winning 15, 12 games. He won't. Oh
So he'll be your
gosh.
number 2.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all in on
Okay.
Steven Matz this year.
I'm
I got
dejected
to
here.
double down.
Like there was a time where I was like, okay, I can see what they're doing this offseason. I mean, what is this rotation? Is this rotation better than last year's?
There's a lot of question. Well, here's the thing. Flaherty obviously disappointed. Adam Wainwright was one of the worst pitchers to ever pitch in Major League Baseball last year.
Yeah.
God love him. He was.
Mhm.
So I don't know that we have that guy on our team. Well, we might. We might, but I don't know.
What are the odds Sonny Gray's better than Montgomery was for us?
I think good. I think the world
Monty was good, man.
he wasn't as good as Sonny Gray.
He had a 3.4 ERA with us.
You and I spent not too long ago almost an hour breaking down how good Sonny Gray's been in his
He's
career and
very
undervalued.
good.
I
He's
think
very
Sonny
good,
Gray is a better pitcher than Jordan Montgomery still.
I agree that he is better, but I'm saying production wise, actual production on the field, is he gonna like if he has a 3.4 ERA, that's good. That's really good. And I'll be happy with that. So what are the odds he's significantly better to where we're looking at this as the rotation's better as a whole? I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be better just because Adam Wainwright's not pitching if we really want to
Agreed.
go down that route, which sucks for him. And Dakota Hudson's not making starts, and Jake
And Jack
Woodford's not
Flaherty
making
was not
starts.
good.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't. But is Lansing gonna be better than Jack Flaherty? Probably not.
Kyle Gibson might be.
He wasn't last year.
I think what we need is Lynn to be better than Wayno and Gibson to be right around Flair. Like that. I see. This is where we're back to 10
Yeah,
and
but then
25 after 35 games.
it's an incremental upgrade there. Then
Yes, I agree.
But I do think there is a part of this, and we're rambling on here, but there is a part of this that if the weird shit that happened at the beginning of the season doesn't happen this year, they won't be 10 and 24. Right?
Okay.
They'll be like there's a couple hits here, a couple things there. Nolan being better. That you looking at maybe they're 14 and whether that be 14 and 16 or 14 and 18, instead of 10 and 24. That you just don't go through that where you're just completely nosedive at the start of the year and can't dig yourself out of it. Like if they would have started last year at 500 in the first 34 games, I think they probably make the playoffs. But they just absolutely killed themselves. So
yeah.
We'll see. They need Dylan Cease. That's where I'm at. That's where I've just landed. They need to trade for Dylan Cease and only prospects. That's where I'm at.
It's not going to happen, but I agree.
Yeah, gosh. Happy January 6th, everybody.
All right, Mardi Gras kicks off tonight. Let's get out of here. Thank you guys all for being back. We appreciate you. We will be back regularly once Caleb gets back up to the 217 up there in the cold and the snow and the wind and the rain and the sleet and all of that. We will be back regularly. Thank you guys so much. We greatly appreciate it. Tell a friend. Let's go Cards.